Special Forces of Ukraine's main intelligence directorate, HUR, have used drones to free 3 of their fellow servicemen who had been captured by Russian forces after being poisoned with an unknown chemical substance. 3 soldiers of the Artan X unit, part of the HUR's Special Purpose Artan Group, set out on a mission, a sabotage and reconnaissance raid on the positions of the 247th Air Assault Regiment of the Russian forces. Upon reaching enemy lines, the Artan X fighters encountered a Russian group and engaged in close combat, 3 Ukrainian assault troops against 3 Russian paratroopers. During the battle, the Russians used an unknown chemical substance. As a result of the gas poisoning, our fighters lost combat effectiveness and were taken prisoner by the occupiers, main intelligence of Ukraine said. After the clash in an open area, the Russian forces began retreating towards a settlement under their control. Aerial reconnaissance units of HUR tracked their movement. When the Russian paratroopers with our captured soldiers reached their first shelter, FPV drone operators from Artan and neighbouring units launched a precision strike to recover our guys, Ketza, Anubis and Kliuchyk, said the commander of the Artan X unit, who goes by the alias Favorit. After the first Russian paratrooper was killed, one of the captured Ukrainian soldiers, call sign Ketza, took advantage of the confusion and panic among the Russians. Ketza said, "I waited for the right moment and slipped away. I found cover in a destroyed building and waited to see how it would end. My chest was burning badly from the gas they used on us. When our FPV drones stormed in, it was an incredible feeling. I'm so grateful to my brothers in arms who didn't abandon us and literally pulled us from captivity." Meanwhile, drone operators killed the second Russian soldier. The third paratrooper crawled under an old truck, but Ukrainian FPV drone operators struck him there as well. After the Russian group was destroyed, a reconnaissance drone flew over to the 2 Artan X fighters with instructions from their commander for withdrawal from occupied territory. The third assault trooper reached the unit's position on his own a few hours later, after sunset.
For the parade in Moscow, Russian authorities pulled air defense systems from all over the country into the capital. As a result, strategically important facilities in the southwest, west and northwest of Russia were left virtually unprotected. This is precisely what Ukraine took advantage of, organizing the most massive attack drone raid of the entire war. According to Ukrainian military expert Alexander Kovalenko, in order to demonstrate greatness at the parade on May the 9th, Russia exposed its strategic facilities to demonstrate security for foreign guests. For this purpose, air defense systems were pulled in from all directions, from the southwest to the far east. While Russian authorities prepare for the celebrations, Ukraine has been deliberately striking military installations and defense industry enterprises in unprotected areas. The latest raids have become the largest since the start of the full-scale invasion and have demonstrated the vulnerability of Russian defenses in the conditions of exposed regions. It is obvious that for the sake of demonstrating strength and security at the parade in Moscow, the Russian authorities are ready to leave strategically important objects unprotected. As Kovalenko notes, such an approach plays into the hands of Ukrainian forces, who took advantage of the weakened air defense for pinpoint attacks on military objects. Experts do not rule out that the latest raids are only the beginning of Ukraine's systematic work on Russia's military infrastructure. While Moscow is preparing for the parade, Ukrainian forces are using the vulnerabilities created to launch new strikes. In his request to put on a grand show on May the 9th, Putin seems to have decided to sacrifice something truly important, the country's security, in order to demonstrate its power to the presidents of small African countries and leaders of Asian states. The Kremlin has exposed strategically important objects, a typical Russian tradition to show off while leaving a bare bottom behind. Recall, Ukrainian drones caused massive disruptions at Moscow airports ahead of Russia's Victory Day parade. At least 60,000 people had their trips delayed or cancelled, with around 350 flights reportedly affected. A slew of flight delays and diversions at Moscow airports affected thousands of travellers yet again following another Ukrainian drone attack. According to the Association of Russia's tour operators, some airports have been closed, while around 350 flights have been reportedly affected. At least 60,000 passengers have experienced disruption, with many of them left stuck on board planes for several hours. Putin's war of attrition is bringing increasingly monstrous results to Russia. 2024 has been the deadliest year for Russia since the invasion of Ukraine began. According to the BBC and Mediazona, at least 45,287 Russian servicemen have died. These are only those whose deaths have been documented. The real number of dead Russian occupiers is much higher. Many bodies have been blown to pieces. Others are lying on the battlefield. They are not going to be evacuated so as not to pay their families, but to divide the money between their superiors. But the ratio is even more frightening. For every square kilometer captured, 27 Russian soldiers are killed, and these are only confirmed deaths. According to expert estimates, the real number of victims may exceed 260,000. Even according to the most conservative forecasts, Russia loses an average of 10,000 people a month at the front. The Russian army continues to use the tactics of meat waves, poorly trained and minimally equipped assault groups. Soldiers rush at fortified Ukrainian positions head-on, without armor, without cover, without a chance. Tactics worthy of the First World War, or outright despair. Even American military analyst Michael Kaufman notes, the main reason for such losses was the repeated use of infantry assault groups without normal coordination and support, especially in the battles for Ugledar, Rabotino, Toretsk and Avdiivka. The price of the offensives in the fall of 2024 was more than 11,000 dead, and the territory, several hundred square kilometers. The price of capture was monstrous. February the 20th, 2024 was a black day for the Russian army. 65 soldiers of the 36th Motorized Rifle Brigade were lined up to receive medals. At that moment, a Ukrainian HIMARS missile struck the training ground. Everyone died, including Colonel Musayev. It later turned out that this parade of heroism ended in one of the most senseless massacres in the history of the Russian army. But there is not a line in the Defense Ministry reports. Among the dead are a former welder, a medical student, a physical therapy instructor, people who have nothing to do with the military, volunteers, mobilized soldiers, prisoners. They all have one thing in common. They were abandoned to die a few meters away on scorched earth. The fate of regions like Bashkiria is especially tragic. 4,836 confirmed deaths, mostly from rural areas. 38% had no combat experience at all. From obituaries, from photographs of gravestones, from family testimonies, journalists have calculated that 106,745 names are already known. But this is, according to estimates, only 45 to 65% of the actual losses. The real figure may be closer to 250,000. If we compare the pace of the offensives and the level of losses, we can come to a horrifying conclusion. Russia is paying tens of thousands of lives for each settlement, for each flag over the ruins. This war has become a slaughter without a strategic outcome, where the Kremlin's main goal is to imitate progress at any cost, while the country plunges into demographic catastrophe and social chaos.